So here's the thing. I barely studied Japanese in 2025 due to life happening and didn't hit a single one of my study goals. But this year I want to lock in. But how does one lock in with their Japanese studies? Be super delusional and try to achieve the impossible, of course. I decided that I want to take the JLPT N1 in December this year. Yes, you heard that right. N1 without having taken any of the other levels, not having taken a test of any sort for a good 16 years, and trying my best to actually pass it. So with that in mind, I thought it would be interesting to have a look at the different sections of the JLPT and how I rank against them currently, and my game plan to get the best result possible. Since I used various different apps and programs while learning Japanese during the years and have only fairly recently settled on my current routine, it's difficult to know where I'm at with both vocabulary and kanji. I don't think vocabulary is my weakest point, but I think I need a lot more of it, especially broader specific vocabulary. For example, sport terms and some more scientific terms. I basically need to be able to cover a whole lot more ground than my current knowledge does. When it comes to kanji, I did get to level 22 or so on Wanikani back in the day when I used it, and I have learned new kanji through my vocabulary since then. So again, it is difficult to say where exactly I am with this as well. Oh boy, should we just go straight to fail with this one? Jokes aside, this is certainly my weakest point. But I just have to knuckle down and get it done. In every language I've learned, grammar has been my least favorite part of the process to deal with, and is the thing that takes me the longest to pick up. I'm just the type that needs to see grammar again and again in context for it to click. Just reading an explanation doesn't do it for me. I need both the explanation and seeing it lots of different times. Honestly, my grammar knowledge at this point is pretty poor and not intuitive at all. I still struggle with some of the foundational stuff because I try to rush through it and just tick it off instead of really focusing on and developing my understanding of it. This is the section I'm the most worried about, as there seem to be so many factors that could go against me. Bad audio, too much noise in the exam room, me missing something and then panicking. The list just goes on. What gives me some hope is that I'm able to suddenly focus on podcasts so much better since taking my study break last year. Before, I would really struggle to keep up with them if I didn't also have a visual input at the same time. But now it seems like that is no longer a problem for some reason. So maybe it's copium, but I hope I'm not completely screwed with this one. Certainly my big weakness with this is that most of my listening at the moment is derived from media that is also visual, so think anime and J-dramas. And is also not broad enough in the sense that I'm not getting exposed to enough topics and accents. Okay, if you've been following me on Instagram, then you might know that I enjoy reading, and one of my main study modes is reading in Japanese. Light novels, non-fiction, video games, the news. So right now, it's probably my strongest skill, but I think this will also be the most challenging part for me, just because of the sheer volume you need to get through during the test. I need to work on my reading speed, my reading stamina, my ability to infer things, because there will just be some words I won't know. And of course, I won't be able to just press shift and use my beloved yomitan in an exam. So while this is my strongest point when it comes to the JLPT, I don't think it's anywhere near up to scratch with the level that is required for N1 reading. So, if we look at all of these sections realistically, I don't think I would even be able to pass JLPT N3 at this point, because there are so many gaps in my knowledge. Is going for N1 a huge jump? Absolutely. Passing it in December 2026 might not even be possible for me, but I don't want to use that as an excuse to not give it my best shot. If I pass, oh my god, what the hell? If I don't pass, I'll still have learned a whole lot of Japanese and know what to focus on for my next attempt. So if I have so much ground to cover and to learn, why am I not going for N3 or N2 instead? Well, because honestly, N1 is all I care about. I know some people prefer to take all levels in order, and that's absolutely valid and probably much more sensible. But you're talking to someone who enjoys delusional study goals and pushing themselves beyond what they thought they could do. It's in part what makes language learning so thrilling for me, and I think as long as I don't beat myself up or try to be a perfectionist about it, like,
if I don't make this happen, I'm an absolute failure and it's all for nothing.
And have fun along the way. I think that's okay, because ultimately that's the most important thing with language learning, having fun. Without that, it's difficult to make this a lifelong habit, because no matter how much the whole learn Japanese in absolutely no time with absolutely no effort trend that was so big in 2024 tried to guilt us into feeling bad about ourselves if we weren't fluent within 6 months, it does take a lot of time and effort. Because language is a living, breathing thing that changes all the time. Sure, once you reach a certain level of fluency, maintenance does take much less time, but it's still required nonetheless. Ask me how I know. So yes, JLPT N1 or nothing, baby. Quick disclaimer, because I know there will be some people thinking,
the JLPT is no indication of actual language ability.
I'm not saying that the JLPT N1 is the pinnacle of Japanese knowledge, and there is so much to cover beyond. But when it comes to having a language certificate, N1 is what I want. And it's also a pretty neat goal to have. It's not that deep. So, what's my overall game plan for this seemingly impossible task? For the first half of the year, I want to continue with a mostly immersion-based approach, because I think it will help me address all of the above sections at the same time. When it comes to reading immersion, I need to train several things: my reading speed, my reading stamina, and my ability to infer things without using any tools like Yomitan to help me with this. This means I need to finally divide stuff into intensive and extensive reading. The intensive reading will help me with minor vocabulary I don't know and address my weak grammar, while the extensive reading will hopefully help me work on my reading speed, stamina, and the ability to infer things. To ensure some of my reading is actually extensive, I will likely read alongside listening to the audiobook, as there will be no time to look stuff up, and I found that very helpful to get out of my head before. I will also continue reading the news, as they are a great way to get exposed to a lot of topics in a short amount of time, and I would like to also get started on reading some essays to get a feel for them. When it comes to listening immersion, I want to make sure I use a broad range of listening resources. The news, podcasts, street interviews, anime, dramas, reality shows, variety shows, just as broad as I can be to be exposed to all kinds of situations, talking speeds, accents, you name it. I might also train myself to silence what I'm listening to for a bit to emulate not catching something, because I know this is a big source of anxiety for me. And while I can't guarantee the environment I'll be in, I want to work on my ability to remain calm as much as I can. So the next few months will be spent on a shit ton of reading and listening practice, as well as closing some of my gaps for grammar and vocabulary, and hopefully in turn kanji while doing so. Then I want to check in and audit where I'm at and refine my approach. Even though textbooks and me aren't friends, I know I very likely will need to use some at that point, even if it's just to get familiar with the format of the questions. So if you have JLPT textbook recommendations, please drop them in the comments, because I have absolutely no clue and would really appreciate to hear your thoughts about them. Thank you so much for joining me on this Delulu journey, because I absolutely need the encouragement and accountability and wouldn't be able to do this without you. You can expect a much more frequent upload schedule from me this year, unless some weird health shenanigans are happening. So see you in the next one. For the first half of the year, I want to continue with a mostly immersion. Why can't I say immersion?